let's get to that veteran presence that this team has with Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, Rudy Gay. I think will be pretty important because he has that previous relationship with Will in San Antonio. If somebody's lost, he can speak Will Hardy. He knows how he communicates and he can translate that sort of thing. On the Jazz, you didn't have this. You were on some pretty good Jazz teams, but elsewhere, what is that role as a veteran when teams are trying to get something together? They're trying to build something. What is the role that you take when it comes to other players on the team and looking to rookies, looking to players that aren't as experienced as you?
Well, every successful team has great leadership. Not just coming from the coach, but coming from guys who've been there and done that, guys who are accomplished, guys who've been through the difficulties of seasons that you don't win a lot of games. Again, that's when I think leadership is the most important, when you're struggling in a game or you're struggling during the season, or a guy goes out with an injury and someone else has to step up. And there's different kind of leaders. I mean, I don't see Mike Conley as that get in your face, come on guys type of guy, but he's earned the respect of everyone, right? He's
so solid.
Yeah, he's been the floor general
so
of his own team. He's a solid guy, and I think automatically there's a respect there that you're gonna follow this guy wherever he goes. You're gonna listen to him. If he corrects you, you're not gonna question it. You're gonna go out and do it. And I think when you have a group of guys like that, like a Rudy Gay, I think a Jordan Clarkson who's been in the league, long enough to be that kind of leader as well, established leader, then that's what's going to bring you that cohesiveness. And so I love the veterans on this team. And again, it is kind of a new role for them, right?
Yeah.
Now, because when you have Donovan and Rudy on your team, and they're the guys who have kind of stood out as the leaders on the floor. And to me, it's not about. I mean, there is some truth to the fact that when you look at contracts, you sometimes find your hierarchy, right? But it's more than that. It goes beyond that. I think it goes to the success these guys have had in their careers, and the respect they're going to get from these younger guys who, they aren't used to, whether it's on the court or off the court, they're not used to this surrounding. So you're coming together, and guys are looking for leaders. Like, who am I going to follow?
Yeah.
And so those guys that you mentioned are kind of the prime selection for that leadership.
I think Kelly Olynyk will also be pretty important as somebody that Danny has familiarity with, bringing him in as a big to shepherd in some of the younger bigs. I'm looking at this poster, 1983-84. You're on it. The team with heart. Who are the leaders on that team? Because that's got to be pretty early in your...
What year were you born?
93.
Oh, 93.
I was not
so
around.
10 years old.
No.
This was 83, 84. This was my rookie season coming out of college. And Stockton wasn't there yet. Malone wasn't there yet.
Nope.
So when I came to the team after we won a national championship with NC State, the first guy who came up to me when I was trying to get established here was Darrell Griffith. And Darrell had won a national championship as well at Louisville. So the first thing he said to me was, Thurl, look, we have something in common. We're used to winning. Don't think it's going to happen right away when you get here. So he tried to set me up. He didn't want me to be disappointed that I was coming from a winning college program now to a team who may or may not win, 25 games.
Expectations were low for that team,
Very
right?
low, very low.
Yeah.
There's a joke. It's not really a joke that Coach Frank Layden at that time would get phone calls from fans asking what time the game is tonight. He said, well, what time can you be here? Meaning, we didn't get a lot of fans at that time. But we overachieved that year. I remember that was the first year the Jazz had made the playoffs since they moved to Salt Lake City. And so those were great years. I was a rookie. I was learning from guys like Adrian Dantley and Griff and Mark Eaton, Ricky Green. I mean, it was just a great group to kind of start my career with. I had some great mentors on that team.
Denver, then Phoenix, right in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Denver, if I remember correctly, that was the guy that had a heart year, where we weren't expected to do anything,
Yep.
and that's when I believe NBA teams had real rivalries going on because Denver was in our division. They had some great players. Alex English was the guy who was leading that group. So yeah, it was. I remember I was a little nervous coming in my rookie season. It was a man's game, and I wasn't quite acclimated to the NBA game yet. But I was getting there. I was getting there, and I was getting used to being coached at that level, and being a seventh pick in the first round. You got to produce, right? You don't want to be on that list of guys who were bombs, as a first round pick. So yeah, great memories. And matter of fact, I have never played a year with the Jazz where we didn't go to the playoffs, even when I returned.
I know. You've been around winning programs.
I have.
That's where you've gone. Winning has followed. The only times Minnesota, right, where you've actually dealt with.
Well, that was the Jazz fault. They traded me.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
That wasn't my fault. But listen, I had 3 years in Minnesota where I got to really look at the other side of things, right? All the success we had with the Jazz. Now I'm being traded to Minnesota, who was kind of rebuilding. Christian Laettner comes on. J.R. Ryder comes on. Two young guys who they're going to put out on the floor, good or bad. They're going to try to build a program around them. And you've got a veteran coming in who can hopefully add a little bit of that winning attitude. But those were rough years. Those were very difficult seasons to go through where you're only winning 20-something games. And there were some good moments in there. It was my first time we had ever won in Boston, in the Boston Garden. We didn't do it when I was with the Jazz, but we beat Boston in Boston. So, but it made me, I think, stronger as a player. I ended up going overseas after that. But those years in Minnesota were, they weren't awful years. They were great learning years for me.